There are places where reality behaves strangely. For example, on one island in Mexico, hundreds of dolls bounce in the wind. It is said that at night they move themselves. But why do they shut up when people approach them? And at the foot of Mount Fuji, there is a forest where the compass is useless, and even one's own voice seems alien. These places are not legends. They exist. Someone has seen them with their own eyes. Someone was returning from there already other. I don't ask you to believe, just look and decide for yourself where the story ends and something else begins. Welcome. If you are interested in seeing where reality breaks down, sign up. Because right now, we're going to a place where fear is part of the world. Mexico. In the middle of the canals, Xochimilco is a tiny island which try not to speak out. It seems normal, green grass, water, light wind. But you have to look, and you realize that the trees are alive here. On each branch there are dolls, hundreds, with charred faces, empty eyes and hands frozen in a silent gesture. There used to be a man here. He said that one day he found the body of a little girl in the water, and next to her was a doll. He hung it on a tree to honor the memory of the child, but the next night he heard a whisper. And in the morning, another doll appeared on the shore. So began the madness, long in decades. He brought toys from the garbage, from the canals, from neighbors. Each hung on branches believing that it protects the island from evil. At first it seemed a strange ritual, then an obsession, and then he died. They found him in the water, in the same place where the girl drowned. And since then, they say, the dolls have started to move on their own. Locals do not approach the island. They claim that the eyes of the dolls are watching the boats, and children's voices can be heard through the wind. Sometimes tourists come and go away in silence, because it is impossible to explain. Maybe it's just an illusion, or maybe it's a memory of the fear that has found its home. But fear has no address. Sometimes it lives in silence, and sometimes underground. And if in Mexico he looks at you through the eyes of dolls, then in France he looks empty. France, Paris, city of light, music, and life. But under it, another city, the one where there is no light at all. There, under the hustle and bustle of the streets and the glare of the showcases, is the silence of 6 million people. The catacombs stretch hundreds of miles underground, going deeper than subways and basements. The walls are made of bones, with skulls whose empty eyes look into eternity. Once these passages were quarries, then cemeteries. People moved here at night, in silence, to free the overcrowded posts. But death does not like to be disturbed. Since then, Paris has been divided in two, life above it and its reflection below. There are those who go down there for fun. They call themselves cathophiles, underground explorers. Sometimes they find rooms under the ground that are not mentioned on the maps, stairs leading to nowhere, and doors through which you can feel your breath. The cameras often break, the light flickers, and steps. Steps are not just yours to hear. In the 90s, they found a video recording. A man walks on a catacombs, lighting the walls with a lantern. He runs faster and faster, breathes harder, and then the light goes out. Camera found, his no. Locals say that Paris stands on the bones and therefore will always live. But maybe it is these bones that hold the city, not letting it go underground with the memory. But fear does not always wait underground. And if Paris lives above death, the next place is inside it. Japan. At the foot of the Fuji Mountains is a forest in which no compass works. Locals call it Okigihara, Sea of Trees. For tourists, it is just a dense green mass, but for the Japanese, a place where reality becomes too quiet. The forest absorbs the sound. Steps disappear into moss. Voices drown between the trunks. Even the wind seems to pass by its side. There are no birds singing. No water is heard. Silence is dense, like the air before a thunderstorm, and it is in it that one begins to hear oneself too loudly. Every year, those who decided to leave come here. At the foot of the table is a sign. Think about your loved ones. Life is a gift. It was not written for tourists. It is said that the police and volunteers periodically walk around the forest, leaving on the trees tapes, red, blue, yellow. They can be used to go back, but not everyone wants to. Sometimes researchers find tents left by someone long ago, books, photos, letters, stacked in a pile of money, carefully placed shoes, things that have no dust on them, although around years. It feels like the person just left for a minute and didn't come back. The locals do not come here without a reason. They say that in Okigihara there live Yurai, immense spirits stuck between worlds. Sometimes it seems as if someone from afar is calling a name. Sometimes as if steps follow you, even though you make the path yourself. Maybe it's just magnetic anomalies and wind in thick foliage, or maybe the forest does remember everyone who came here. But sometimes silence doesn't just swallow the sound, it keeps it. And somewhere, high in the mountains, there is a place where the echo does not return at all. Because here the words fall into the water, and there, under the smooth, someone already hears them. High in the Himalayas, amidst snow and wind, is hidden small lake Rupkunda. From a height, it seems like a mirror stuck between rocks. But as soon as the sun touches the surface, the water starts to glow like glass. Then you can see what is sleeping on the bottom. Hundreds of human bones, skulls, and bodies frozen in ice. Locals call this place Lake of the Dead. When the ice melts, the remains rise out of the water. Hands, faces, clothes that should not have survived for so long. Scientists argued for decades. Who are they? Soldiers? Pilgrims? Victims of an ancient curse? Then it turned out that the bones belonged to men and women of different nations, living in thousands of years. How they ended up in the same place, no one knows. There is a legend that once a group of travelers came here, breaking the peace of the mountain deity. A storm began. The sky, it is said, fell on them with a hail of the size of a human head, and everything was over in a few minutes. But even those who don't believe in legends don't come down here at night. They say that when the wind touches the water, you hear the sound of bones as if someone is whispering through the ice. And in the full moon at the bottom, you can see silhouettes that move slowly, as if trying to remember where time stopped. Maybe it's just an illusion, the game of light and height. Or maybe the Rupkund is a mirror in which death itself once looked, and since then, water has simply kept its reflection. Death is not the same everywhere. Somewhere it lies quiet under the ice, like a frozen memory, and somewhere waiting at the very surface. And if in the Himalayas it has become a mirror in which the past is reflected, in Italy there is an island where reflection no longer exists. Because everything that could have died is already dead. Warm sea, sun, vineyards, and a small island off the coast of Venice that no one wants to step on. The story. Today, you can see it from the shore, a tiny spot in the water. There are no tours. Do not let boats, even fishermen, bypass it. Once upon a time, the town was a refuge. They brought here those who were sick with the plague, those who did not have time to treat. They were burned, buried in haste, sometimes alive. Then, centuries later, a psychiatric hospital was built on the site. Doctors claimed that patients hear voices and see shapes in windows. One of the doctors did experiments trying to cure madness. Later, he was found at the foot of the tower where, as he said, those who stayed here called him. After the hospital closed, the island was deserted. But at night, towards Popeli, there is still a sound, a short, metallic one, as if someone up there is again flushing the bucket into the well. Sometimes tourists take a zoom, and in the windows of the old building flickers silhouettes. Locals say that even the birds do not land on Povolola. They fly around its side as if they feel the air is different there, and if you listen carefully, you can catch the rustle, as if the wind is blowing through the pages of old stories about those who could not get away. Maybe it's just a legend, or maybe one of the few places where death didn't come, but stayed. The world seems familiar to us. Maps have been drawn long ago, roads have been laid out, cities are illuminated by thousands of lanterns. But there are places where this light does not hold. Places where the boundaries between life and death become thinner than breathing. Island, forest, lake, they are different. But in each lives the same feeling, the Sheena, one who does not frighten, but just looks at you back. If you feel that somewhere under the surface there is still a secret, sign up. Because the next time we go to a place where even time is not sure it exists,